Okay, hi. So this is Wednesday's task. So we have done multiplication where we are looking using base 10 blocks and doing arrays. Then we did just like these gray boxes that are in this image here, but with not very big numbers. Okay, and so this next step is just going to be using bigger numbers. So same idea, using bigger numbers, and we're going to look a little bit more about, because you won't always be given the box, right? Like if we were in school, you would have to draw the box. So how is that gray box formed, and how many squares am I going to need? So that's the sort of thing we're going to think about a bit today. All right, so let's get into it. We have 64 times 39. So I would go ahead and build that. It doesn't matter which side I build my 64 on, just so long as the 60 and the 4 are on the same side. Okay, so I wouldn't be able to put the 60 and the 9 here because that's not either of those two numbers. It would have to be the 60 and the 4 on that side. And then up here, I would have to put the 30 and the 9. So now I have a big rectangle with side length 64 and the other side 39. Okay, so now I am ready to just go ahead and multiply the two sides. So the two sides that make this rectangle are the 60 and the 30. If you notice, it's not to proportion, but it doesn't matter because the idea is there. So I would go 3 times 6, which is 18. And I can see that there's it's 60, so that's going to be one shift, and instead of a 3, it's 30, so that's going to be 2 shifts. Okay, so I'm going to be doing 2 shifts up, which would make it 1,800. Okay, then if I look at this one, my side length here is 60, and my side length here is 9. So I'm going to be going 60 times 9, so I would go 6 times 9, which is 54 with 1 shift. Okay, all right, so next one. This guy down here, my side lengths are 4, and the top side length is 30. So I would go 4 times 3 is 12 with 1 shift. And then my last box here, side length of 4, other side length of 9. So 4 times 9 is 36. And is that right? 9 times 4 is 36. Yeah, 9 times 2 is 18. Yes. Okay, I just had to check. Sometimes I forget that one. All right, and there's no shifts up for that because it's just 9 and 4. All right, so at this point, me adding this up can get a little bit challenging. Okay, so what I would recommend is, or one of the things you could do that might help you, is you can take each of those numbers that are in there and you could move them over here. But the key thing, as always, is technically we're like putting it inside the Fusion machine. So we've got to line things up with the back number. So whoops. Okay, so I'm going to scooch this guy over until it's lined up. Okay, so the ones with the ones, the tens with the tens, and the hundreds with the hundreds. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same with this guy. Okay, and I'm going to add it all, oops, line it all up. Okay, so there's another one. Whoops, like that's better. Okay, and then this last one. So notice I'm lining it up from the ones first. So I have to make sure my ones columns line up. Okay, so now that I have it all lined up, then I can go ahead and figure out my total. So if I look at my ones, I've got a 6, okay? And then if I look at my tens, that's gonna be 60, 70, 80, 90. So far I have 96. Now I'm gonna do my hundreds. So that's gonna be an 8 and 5 gives me 13, so 14. So I would write that 4 and then Shazam it. So maybe what I should do is just add in a text box there to show that. Okay, so I'm going to add in my text box. Okay, and so I had my 6. Whoops, a longer text box. Okay, so I have my 6 and then my 9. And then now this one was a 4. And then I Shazammed the 1. So that's going to combine with that 1,000. Okay, so technically I would be Shazamming. So you could do this on paper, right? And just write in the answer. But I would recommend sort of lining it all up like we would typically in the Fusion machine. And then I would put that Shazammed one up here, right beside this other one. And then I can go ahead and type that in. Okay, so that would be a solution of 2,496. Okay, and so that's how I would find my total. Okay, now in today's task, there's not a ton of questions because I'm really wanting you to think through how the setup is and understanding the whole process. So in the second question, if you notice, there is no gray rectangle. Okay, so I'm gonna have to build my own. Okay, so I have to go, okay, how am I gonna build this? It's gonna be the same as the previous question. It's gonna be a 2 by 2. Now you wanna make sure you keep it low down so you can put your numbers in here. And then I'm gonna take this line here, okay, and I'm gonna put one along the bottom. I'm gonna extend that. Whoops. Oh, I've gone offline. Nope. Reconnecting. Sorry. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna line this up. Okay, and then I'm gonna copy and paste that. And so I need in total, I need 4 squares. Okay, just like we've done with all the other ones. Now, what I would recommend at this point to make life easier for yourself is to then, instead of copy and pasting this guy, I would copy all of those guys. You could even do this down here if you wanted. And bring those guys down here. Okay, and then line that up. Okay, so now I'd have to then now change these numbers. So on the side here, I could do the 50, then 6, and then up top I would have 80 and 1. Okay, and then I would have to change what's in here. Okay, so I would figure out what each of those sections are by multiplying, and then I could do my totals. Okay, and then figure it out. So I wanted you to think a little bit more about how each of these is structured, and yeah. So then in the next slide, you're going to go on to a question like this, where now I have 117 times 47. So if you notice, my rectangle has changed because I'm going to need, because I have this hundreds number, right? So I'm going to need a section for hundreds. Now, if I look on the top, I have 1, 2, 3 question marks, and on the bottom, or on the side here, I only have 2. So that means, like I said, it doesn't matter which side you put the numbers on, so long as the rectangle represents 117 by 47. So I'm going to put my 47 along the side here because there's 2 spaces. Okay, whereas on the top, I have my 3, so I'm going to divide or split that into 100, 10, and 7. Okay, and then I can go ahead and figure out what's inside. So I have 100 times 40. So that guy is going to be 1 times 4, which is 4. And how many shifts? There's 2 with the 100, and then there's a 1 with the 40. So that's a total of 1, 2, 3 shifts. Okay. So here I have a side length of 40 and then a top side length of 10. So once again, that's going to be 4 with 2 shifts. Okay, and then in this last spot, I'd have a 40 times a 7. Sorry, 40 times a 7. So that's going to be 4 times 7, which is 28 with 1 shift, because instead of 4, it's 40. Okay. Then on this bottom one, that's a 100 times 7. So that top line is 100. So that's going to be 700. Okay. This one's going to be a 7 by 10. So that's going to be 70. And then here is a 7 by 7, which is 49, no shifts, because there's no zeros at the end. All right, so now I would take all of that, and if I were you, I would do it on a piece of paper and line them up so that the ones are all lined up, and then you can just add up the columns. Okay? So in this case, if I'm just looking, I can see that there's only 1 ones, so that's going to be 9. Okay, my 10s, if I was to add those up, I have an 80 and a 70, so that's going to be 150. So that's going to be a Shazam. So I'm going to put a 5 here, and then the 100 I'm going to have to add to the others. So 7, so I have to hold that 100 in my head if I'm doing this mental math. So I'm going to take that 100, I'm going to add it to the 700, so that's going to be 800 plus 400 is going to give me 1200. So I'm going to put the 2 in my 100 spot, and then I would Shazam that 1,000. Shazam that up to 1,000. So instead of 4,000, I would have 5,000. So you absolutely can do this in your head, or you could write them all down, lining up your ones. All right, cool. So that's kind of all I have to show you. So I'll see you guys in the meet and bring any questions that you have. All right, bye for now.